Hello and welcome to another edition of the Mr. Smith and Mr. Jones podcast. Today is December 18th, 2017. I'm Doug Smith, and with me as always is my guest host, Mr. Nathan Jones.
No one told you that was gonna be this way.
Hey, that's a little bit by a guy named Neil Cicierega. You thought it was Friends. And then you got the Disturbed laugh in there. Hey, everybody.
I was getting ready to say, I was like, wow, he's really going to commit to a long introduction.
I got bits. So that's what I think I care about.
I thought we were going to have to withstand the entire intro, and then somehow you were just going to chime in.
I'm just like, hey, guys. And that's it. That's
going to be 45 seconds of build-up.
Not just 11 seconds. It's good.
That's pretty good. It's probably the best thing I've heard Disturbed do in, 15 years.
Yeah, since Down with the Sickness, since we were, kiddos 15 years ago, that scene, the new metal scene came around, but I'm glad it's not back.
Yeah, everything comes back in like rotations, like 20-year rotations, and that one can kind of just skip off.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. We don't need more Fred Durst in the world.
No, we don't need any Limp Bizkit corn or any of that.
Anyway, today's date, December 18th, 2017. Year is almost over.
We're so close.
Thank God. 2017
was a train wreck.
It was a train wreck. 2016 was a train wreck, too. 2017 was like the Hold My Beer equivalent.
Yeah, I agree.
It was a so-so year for movies, I would say.
Yeah, I liked a lot of the movies, but a lot of the independent films, in my opinion, were probably the best.
Yeah, a lot of the big blockbuster films underperformed. There was both critically and financially, I would say. It was kind of a subpar year for 2017. So, luckily, though, they've got some strong movies at the end of the year, whether you critically agree or financially agree. Star Wars is going to save the day as far as the year-end box office.
They're going to get a lot of money.
Yeah. But in related Star Wars news, there was a gigantic news bombshell thing that dropped last weekend. That was Disney buying Fox.
I know, which is crazy.
So it was $52.4 billion and then like
chump change.
Another $15 billion in debt, I believe. So it was a total package of like $67 billion.
About the debt, too. That's insane.
Yeah, I can't wrap my head around that much money, let alone having that much money to spend.
No, I heard that there was going to be a major job loss, too.
Oh, it would have to be. And that's one thing that people didn't really absorb or kind of understand when they see this. They just immediately go, oh, Marvel. Fuck yeah, we're getting it. Marvel's getting Fantastic Four, we're getting fucking Silver Surfer, X-Men, all this shit. They don't realize that a fuck ton of people are about to be jobless and
on top of the monopoly that is Disney has gotten bigger now.
Because it's great news for a very few.
Yes.
And shit news for a large majority of people that are working in the industry. Because if you think about just the logistics of it, say you're a struggling screenwriter and you're trying to sell your first script to somebody. You now have less studios available.
You have less studios. Fox had so many different types of studios, too. They had Fox Searchlight.
Searchlight's one of my favorite independent studios, if not the favorite. But, you're no longer having, different areas where you can shop your work. Things like animation studios. So Disney, obviously, famous for their animation studios, something they've had, down to a science for many years.
Pixar when they acquisitioned them a long time ago.
So they acquired Pixar, so they no longer need Fox Animation. Even hand-drawn, so things like Family Guy and The Simpsons. Something that's been around for 30-plus years with, their animation studio. That is now in jeopardy because why the fuck would Disney want to absorb somebody else's animation studio and pay those people when they've got their own animators who they've had doing this for 80 years.
I do wonder that Family Guy might be axed, but I feel like Simpsons will probably be okay. But I don't know. That's just me.
In the short of it, I don't think we will see any programming changes for a year or two at the very least.
It's still going to be a year until it's actually official.
Yeah, because it's got to go through government regulations because something this big has, monopolized tendencies.
So it's not even, they bought it, but even
they shook hands, but the government gets the last say of, because this happened back in the 90s with Microsoft and a couple acquisitions where they tried to acquire some competition and they got shut down. They said, no, you guys are already too big as it is.
Yeah, I remember that,
actually. Let you, supersize any longer. But
tisk.
It'll be interesting. There's a lot of comical associations with it. Like, does Ripley from Alien, is she now a Disney princess?
Yeah, actually, that's going to be one of the questions of the.
What was it?
Not Disney, but I can't remember exactly. I think they asked if Black Widow was a Disney princess.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
I mean, that was already inferred, when Disney bought Marvel. That had nothing to do with Fox.
All right, so we got one of the questions answered now.
Yeah, so, yes. Anybody under the Fox banner is now an official Disney princess.
Hooray!
Yay!
Jessica Jones, Disney princess.
Again, you're talking about stuff that Disney bought Marvel a long time ago.
I know that, but yeah. We'll see.
But, yeah, $52.4 billion, so... Save up your pennies, kids, and you too can also be a multimedia conglomerate.
Save up your pennies.
Yeah, but the end result of the deal, Fox walked away with a bare bones operation, so to speak. So, I say that it's still a large business, but it's just things that I'm not interested in.
Sure,
so Fox News, they're keeping that. So they're news, television broadcast. They're going to keep their sports channels.
So Ted Turner's got that still.
Yeah, so like Fox Sports 1, I think, is the local one here where they play like Blues games and things like that. So they're going to keep their sports broadcasting and their news broadcasting. Everything else, their animation, their film department, all that kind of thing is going by the Bay side.
Just seems insane.
Yeah. No point in my understanding of these companies do I ever understand just how big they are, because like I said, $52.4 billion is an absurd amount of money. And then when you think of, that's just not all the money they have. That's spending money.
Yeah, that's spending money for... Well, I mean, Disney, I guess, just makes it so much. And I guess they're just like, we'll probably make millions for Star Wars, so... Well,
they are already... So they spent $4 billion on the acquisition from Lucasfilms when they bought Star Wars. They are very narrowly... So when this Last Jedi gets done and the way it's tracking, they will be close to, if not very... very near the black. With two, 3 movies already?
3 now.
Yeah, so 3 movies. Well, hell, I wouldn't even considering Rogue One. So yeah, they will be very close to being in the black and back in profit within,
Woof.
a few movies.
That's why they pushed all the animals in the new one, which we'll get to.
And another thing that has a lot of connotation to it is the fact that Fox was a majority share owner in Hulu.
Yeah, I've heard about that potentially going away.
Yeah, Disney had already talked about pulling their stuff from Netflix and starting their own, streaming service. Well, now they own one of the largest competitors for Netflix.
Yeah.
As far as controlling stake.
So they can Amazon. That's about it.
Yeah. So they can either go all in with Hulu, or they can do as they said before and say, "Hey, we're going to do our own thing," and basically run Hulu into the ground. I mean, they could just close up shop, and there's nothing Hulu, people could do about it.
It saddens me. Because, like you said, you have a lot less potential, a lot less marketplace for a lot of these things. And I mean, that's one of the biggest criticisms of monopolies and like crony capitalism is you get, these giant-ass companies that own everything.
Well, yeah, because everything gets bottlenecked into like one source at that point.
Yeah.
Like and Disney was already kind of getting hot water earlier this year for some strict limitations that they were kind of in passing on the movie theaters, saying, "Hey, if you want to show Last Jedi, you've got to meet this qualification."
Well, that's what happened with Tarantino. I remember talking about that.
Mm-hmm. And one of the things was, you have to give us 70% of the opening weekend haul or something like that, which is an absurd amount because they already pay over 50%, which many people don't realize. People think, "Oh, the movie theaters, they make all this money and they're still charging this, asinine price for popcorn." The reason they're charging that asinine price for popcorn is because they're making pennies on the dollar for ticket sales.
Well, It was a really crazy day because that also was the day of net neutrality.
Yes,
it was, and I also broke my laptop that day too.
So net neutrality, for those who are not aware, is an official law.
How are you not aware?
Yeah, the official law passed back in the Obama administration. Basically, what it says is, in a nutshell, the internet is a free market. No one owns a piece of it. No one can control or limit access to, or basically.
Basically, access was the same price for everyone.
Yeah. If you're poor or if you're rich, you have the same internet.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, you can pay for a little quicker speed.
You can pay for different, quicker speeds. I remember having those packages
But the net neutrality laws basically made it to where essentially a company theoretically could nerf your speed, so to speak. So, say you had Time Warner Cable as your internet server. service provider and somebody was a competitor like AT&T, and you were using one of their services, whatever. I don't think this is Time Warner Cable owned, but theoretically speaking, say you were on like a CBS.com and you were trying to watch the new Star Trek online show or something like that, and your internet service provider was different, they could theoretically slow your internet down just because that was a competitor. And you think, okay, that sounds shady, but that's not terrible. Big whoop.
Sure.
Grand scheme of things, slippery slope, because once you repeal this net neutrality law, you can essentially have government-controlled internet, and then you're looking at yourself like North Korea, to where everything is fake news, and you're no longer sure of what is actual truth,
is actual real, fiction. And that's the problem. I mean, I always talk about it at school. That's the problem I have with having just the government control everything all the time, especially with the internet. That's one of the most important things. I mean, obviously, all the listeners out here or viewers. I mean, you're doing it through the internet.
Yeah, so, the fact that you can listen to this podcast right now is a prime example of free, open internet market. Net neutrality kind of ruins that. Essentially, if Apple wanted to, with net neutrality laws, for whatever reason, they could basically just say, hey, you can't listen to a podcast unless you pay us money.
Yeah, which is just, it's kind of slippery. It's a slippery slope. So, but yeah, that day was not a good one, because I also broke my laptop. This week has not been good for me.
Bad technological week for you, yes, absolutely.
Yes, I had my laptop screen crack as I was getting out of my car at home, just randomly.
You don't have a man purse for those? One of those sweet satchels, messenger bags?
No, I didn't have it on me. Didn't have that satchel on me.
Never fails when you need it the most.
I had that egg that I got with Indiana Jones in my satchel. No.
You can only make room for one artifact.
I can only have one artifact in there, and my laptop is it's priced, where the egg is priceless. But no, that happened, and I got in a car accident, but everything's good. It's a really stupid story. So basically, I was driving on my way to... I got my old job back at Classic Rock, and basically I was driving there just to talk to them, and I noticed a piece of hair on my arm, and rolled the window down, put it out, and then when I looked back, this all obviously happened in like 1 second. I looked back and there was a median, and so I tried to dodge it, but I pretty much my left tire and axle met that.
So basically, you tried to do a skateboard trick on a median, is what I'm
hearing. I tried to do a tech deck move with my car, but it didn't work so well, and I got screwed. So yeah, this week could go away.
That's unfortunate that your greatest downfall was a hair. Your own.
I know,
hair.
right? It wasn't my own hair.
Oh, even okay. So
even more scandalous, right?
So who is the saboteur?
Hannah. She's been on the podcast before.
Okay. So Hannah is 100% to blame.
Well. No, it's because Hannah was last in my car, and I could tell it was her blonde hair. And so I was like, Hannah?
So from now on, will you be installing a hairnet policy?
Hairnet policy.
Or a hat? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, hey, you're going to have to go through this entire thing. And Hannah, I know you're going to listen to this, so damn you.
Be prepared.
Damn you.
Be prepared. There will be consequences.
But any other movie news?
Like I said, that was the big bombshell. The only other news that I saw, which you'll like this. I saw that Dennis, I always butcher his last name, Villeneuve.
Oh, Villeneuve.
Yeah, Villeneuve, yeah.
French-Canadian guy.
I just know it's French, and I instinctually have, the stereotypical, which is terribly derogatory, but I love it every time.
Well.
But apparently he's spoken out and said he is interested in doing a Star Wars film.
Oh, boy.
Obviously, wouldn't be any of the, the numbered Star Wars, but he said he definitely wants to give it a go, and I think they should definitely
give it to him.
Yeah, definitely let him. I don't know where, because obviously Rian Johnson's got his own trilogy coming on. J.J. Abrams is going to be doing the closing chapter, episode
Probably
9.
One of the stories.
So it'd be one of the stories. They haven't officially announced the Obi-Wan?
No, but that would be
that's like the number one rumor, is an Obi-Wan or a Boba Fett have been the two rumors. Whether or not those actually are on track, but I would love to see him do one.
I would as well. Blade Runner 2049 this year alone was just...
Fantastic movie. He's done big budget movies, obviously.
Sci-fi is his genre, too.
Yeah, so he's good. He's a great storyteller. I'd be anxious to see him take on one of those solo movies. Hell, a Yoda movie would be fucking badass. Or a Yoda trilogy. Fuck, I don't care what it is.
Or even, and I was talking about, because I'm sure we'll talk about Star Wars in a second, but as soon as I watched Last Jedi, I was talking with the people I watched it with, and we talked about potentially, I just kind of joked about it, because do you remember the new Darth Vader comics that are coming? Which the new comics are great.
Yeah.
Those especially, it's really, really heavy. It's pretty much Darth Vader tracking down everyone and killing them off.
Yep.
Between 3 and 4. And that was like a movie, I would see it more like a Deadpool or Logan-esque kind of movie where it's rated R. And
absolutely.
It would be more violent, and it would be like, just, no, this is what's going on.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think Disney is anywhere close to that road yet.
Sure.
Especially with Star Wars.
Well, Logan, it took, 17 years since 2000?
It took them 17 years, and Logan has like an established track record for years and years and years of being semi-adult with his content. Yeah. Star Wars, not so much. So it would take some superhero level convincing to get somebody to sign off on it. I would love to see it, but I think we're going to have to. That'll be your children's generation.
My children's generation. Oh, yeah, because I'm going to have the children's.
Yeah. Well, I'm not, so I can't say our children's generation. So
of all people, I never would
the
expect
onus is on you to procreate.
You hear that, audience? The onus is on you.
Only you can prevent forest fires and get people pregnant, because I'm not doing it.
Because I'm not doing it. Speaking of Star Wars, though, we both saw it.
So yes, and I think we have differing opinions on it.
Yeah. Okay. What do you want to say?
So yeah, we both watched it. I enjoyed it. It definitely has flaws. I will not shy away from that. I was not probably surprised as most people, because there was a lot of things that I kind of guessed going into this, just because just the storytelling and the plot devices, and I know Rian Johnson's work.
Yeah.
And I know his writing style. So
I love Looper and Brick.
Yeah.
The two things I've seen by him.
So I'm not going to tell you go see it or don't go see it, because if you're even remotely thinking about
definitely go see it.
Watching Star Wars, you should already go see it, and you probably already have. I mean, it's a cultural phenomenon, so you don't need a recommendation from one of us to go see it or don't go see it. Go watch the movie. It's worth your time. If you don't think so, I don't know why you're...
I don't know why you're...
even this far invested in Star Wars if you're not just automatically going to go watch it. But I enjoyed it. From now on, this is going to be spoiler territory, so if you don't want to listen to spoilers, I suggest coming back in maybe 10, 15 minutes later on this podcast.
Yeah.
So, I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I think if I wanted to talk about...
I'm sure we would agree with
let's talk about what you didn't like about it, and then I'll throw the pros.
Yeah. So the most obvious flaw, in my opinion, is the pacing of certain aspects of it.
I agree.
Finn's story, Finn and Rose.
I was about to say that whole casino.
Was just
there's 30 minutes, and I think that was a large consensus among people that whether
you like it or not,
everybody can agree on that one thing: is what the hell was the point of that?
Was this?
Yeah.
And I get it. There's a lot of, and like I said, this is spoilers. There's a lot of animal cruelty things involved in this, and kind of just trying to be more aware of some of those things. I mean, you see it with Luke milking the whatever that thing was,
the four-titted beast on the island.
The four-titted beast. Yarr. You get that, and then you also see it with the horse-like creatures on this casino planet. But besides that, that was pretty consensual in the sense that just threw the pacing off. It was, I mean, you're having this build-up.
It felt very prequel trilogy to me.
Yes.
Like, if George Lucas ever elbowed in and said, "Hey, do you mind if I add a few suggestions?"
Like, fine, here we go.
I felt like that would be his suggestions, because that just seemed like something out of the prequel trilogy.
Yeah. There was actually one scene that once they actually got there, that it reminded me exactly of Lucas just doing something. And I don't even remember exactly what this thing was going on. It was either some kind of negotiation or like slave trade of some sort, but it was literally just obviously 5 seconds. And it was a hard cut to that scene, and then it went back to something else. I'm like, that had nothing to do with anything.
Yeah. Why was that there?
Why was that there? I get you're trying to show us more of the universe, and that's awesome. I like that. But I feel like this movie, it did it too much. Like, you're like, hey, let's just show you everything. I'm like,
especially the casino thing. Like, I'm like...
Yeah, it was overtly detailed unnecessarily. Like, I don't need to see 30,000 aristocratic, galactic, rich douchebags for any reason whatsoever.
And then the thing that looks exactly like that thing in Fantastic Beasts, and where to find them, with coins.
Yep.
I'm like, that looks exactly like that thing. That's exactly the thing that popped in my head was like, hey, this is actually a scene from Harry Potter.
Yep.
So
it's a ripoff.
It's a ripoff. But besides that, I actually just made a video today of my character flaws, and I'd actually highly recommend you checking that out. That's actually probably a lot more of a detailed thing about what I disagree with. But the other big thing was Luke's character, which irked me a little bit. I don't see how Luke ended up the way he was portrayed in this movie. Because if you've seen A New Hope, you've seen Empire Strikes Back, and you've seen Return of the Jedi, barring his introduction in Force Awakens, which he was barely in, obviously, he was just in one scene, so you don't get to see anything. You see this journey, and this is not spoilers for anyone who has seen this. New Hope, you get this farm boy who gets thrust into this big giant space odyssey with a huge responsibility on his shoulder, a chip on his shoulder, and Obi-Wan's like, "Hey, it's okay, we can do this." And then he dies. Obi-Wan dies in that, and that it breaks him a little bit. And you can see that all hope is lost in Empire Strikes Back because the bad guys are obviously winning. But then he goes off to Dagobah to train with Yoda and try to figure out his place in this. And he's like, he had to leave early, obviously, to save his sister and Han and Lando and Chewie, R2 and C-3PO. And then you also realize, he loses his hand, and he also figures out his father is actually Darth Vader.
Yeah, he gets a wealth of knowledge dropped on him.
On that, the entire movie it's just him getting pummeled, pretty much. And so then, once you get into Return of the Jedi, you see this 3 years later, more or less, this master who's pretty much figured out, like, hey, I've actually went and trained and figured out exactly what I need to do.
Well, he signed his membership card to the Not Fucking Around crew.
Exactly, and so he kind of you could see him growing up, and then he even gave himself away to Darth Vader and the Emperor. Pretty much to try to convince his father from being like, hey, it's okay, I still forgive you, no matter what you've done. And that's what the whole point of that thing, the entire thing is. Obviously, Darth Vader betrays the Emperor at the end, but he dies in the process. But you see that transformation, and so once you get into Last Jedi, that's where it just does not fit Luke's. I like the end a lot. I don't have any problems with that. I just don't like how fast he threw away the ability. He's like, no, there's no good, there's no bad. I get what they're trying to do, but it just for me, I guess it just didn't make sense that he's like, let's start this Jedi temple. Oh wow, I had one bad egg, they ruined it all. I'm gonna give up now. I'm like, you know how many freaking Jedis before you did the same exact thing?
Yeah, well, that's why I didn't have an issue with it, because it kind of tracked linearly with what Obi-Wan and both Yoda had done. Like,
sure, I suppose that, yeah.
Fell upon the same thing. He had a star pupil, failed him. He ended up, taking over and killing everybody. Obi-Wan felt extreme guilt for it.
Sure.
Walked off. Did his hermit thing. Granted, he was keeping an eye on Luke, but still, he, ostracized himself from the world, didn't do anything, took it upon himself, blamed himself for it. Yoda went off, lived in a swamp, didn't do shit.
But the thing is, you had 3 movies to build upon that.
Yeah.
You actually felt for that. This one was just, oh yeah, that happened, and then you get a couple flashbacks in this movie, and it's like, that's one of my biggest problems with these prequels. I don't care about any of the characters. I barely care about anyone.
One of the biggest issues, I think, with this new trilogy is something I was mentioning today when I was talking to somebody about this movie, is this new Star Wars trilogy needs a Kevin Feige. So the Marvel Cinematic Universe cohesively meshes so well, is that it's kind of like broad-stroked, storyboard-driven across, hey, this, not necessarily when they're writing movies do they say, you have to do all these things, but they give them like the high cliff notes saying, hey, this is what's happening, this is how it affects you, make sure you connect or meld with this way, shape, or form. You can tell specifically that Force Awakens, Last Jedi, completely different writers. At no point in time did they ever have to really talk to each other or, address concepts that were brought up previously. It was clear as day that J.J. Abrams' job was to, revitalize the new franchise and start with building blocks and give the next guy, something to go off of.
Yeah. Collaboration. Come on.
Rian Johnson obviously, took some of those ideas, and then some of those he tossed them aside. Said, you know what, that's just not going to work for what I wanted to tell. So he, abruptly cut some of those in half.
Well, we'll not get into that.
Yeah.
We'll end the spoilers now.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to give too much away. I'd rather people just...
But yeah, that was the most criticism I've heard for The Last Jedi was Finn and Rose's little jaunt to the casino. Yeah. It felt forced. And a lot of that, I think, was Rian Johnson just didn't know what to do with Finn's character.
Sure.
J.J. Abrams kind of pushed and insinuated that Finn would be kind of like a love interest.
Or a love interest, yeah.
Or like a Han Solo-esque, replacement. But I think Poe's kind of overshadowed him and kind of filled that role.
I liked Poe in this movie a lot.
Yeah. So I think Rian Johnson was like, well, he's not going to be my Han Solo guy. That's going to be Poe. It's like, I don't really want to force, a love interest thing because that's just going to not mesh with what I want to do. So he's like, I really don't know what to do with him. So he came up with that goofy-ass subplot, which didn't really serve the movie. But I enjoyed Last Jedi. I think I also did the best third acts.
For sure. I really enjoyed the middle and last act of the movie. Is just, it's worth it. The beginning's slow. But
one thing I would tell people going into this movie is there is a lot of consequences for every single character, whether they're good or bad. Everybody has some consequences of their action in this movie, and a lot of people that watch this are not comfortable with those consequences. So it's definitely a talking point for some.
It's definitely something that people are going to have to. It's something you don't just like watch and experience. It's something you can actually talk about with people afterwards.
Absolutely.
And think about
because people are going to interpret things differently too. Yeah. Because I watched it and I walked out with my brother and we both kind of analyzed things differently. And he was like, "Oh, what were they doing here?" And I was like, "Well, this is what I interpreted it as when they said this, this, and this." And he's like, "Oh, okay, I didn't pick up on that." So certain things are lost upon some viewers and other things are picked up upon. But definitely, it's like I said, it's a cultural phenomenon. People are going to see it regardless. Yep. Second biggest opening of all time. I saw it opened with $220 million, so it'll make it lots of dollars.
It'll make a lot of money. I go watch it again. I never watched it in IMAX. I saw it at another theater, but I'm going to go watch it at IMAX.
I went and saw it at IMAX. Yeah,
it'll be fun that way.
Other than that, I went and watched The Disaster Artist last weekend.
Oh, very good. I like.
It's very, very good. Obviously, I've seen The Room, so it's helpful. And I think if you're on the fence about watching The Disaster Artist or you're deciding, hey, that's a movie I want to go see, please look up The Room on the internet.
But please watch it with friends because you won't make through it. You won't make it through by yourself, probably.
No, plus, it's something a group really needs to watch just so they can absorb, just because it's very hard to describe. So if you were to watch the Room by yourself, and then you were trying to sell your friends on this movie, saying, "Oh my God, you have to watch this ridiculous movie." Yeah. It's kind of hard to explain. It's more of an experience than an actual a visual.
It's a very choppy movie, so it's really hard to really.
Yes, but The Disaster Artist I thought was great. I thought James Franco obviously nailed
fantastic.
Tommy Wiseau. It was really. I mean, there was a couple. Even the chick that played Lisa in The Disaster Artist, she was
spot on. Almost.
Spot on. Yeah. So whoever they cast in these roles, because I wasn't familiar with anybody but James and his brother, with Dave Franco.
Yeah,
James
Franco,
and Dave Franco, both in this movie. So they did great. Everybody else I wasn't really familiar with, other than a few
like
cameos.
Big name actors, like I mean, obviously Seth Rogen. He's always with James.
But the subpar characters that they filled, those people
pretty funny.
really nailed their characters. Yeah. It was very touching in the sense that it doesn't portray Tommy Wiseau negatively. I think
it's got a really good message.
Yeah, it's really a true to form story about a guy that had a heart bigger than talent, so to speak. He wanted something. He had the means to make something happen for himself where other doors and avenues obviously wouldn't open for him because of his talent level. And he went all in. I mean, this guy's a very secretive character, but he spent over $6 million of his own finances to basically make a movie that would help him and his friend become actors.
Yeah, it's a friendship movie. It's about two friends following their dreams. Yeah, that's what's great.
Definitely entertaining movie.
It's fun.
You'll love it. Like I said, watch The Room first, then
You'll
watch this.
It. Have fun.
It's not going to spoil it for you.
No.
You'll enjoy it. So highly recommend The Room.
All right, you want to go to our top 10 of the year?
Yeah, so it's just like I said, it's December 18th, so the year is almost wrapped.
Yeah, there's a couple things we haven't seen. We want to see.
Yeah, there's one more movie on the docket for sure that we both want to see, The Shape of Water. Guillermo del Toro's movie.
I want to see Molly's Game. I want to see Phantom Thread. There's a couple big Oscar movies that are come out.
But unfortunately, we live in the Bible Belt.
Limited release.
So limited release is not Springfield, Missouri. But you want to do yours or mine first?
Let's just go like 10,
back
10,
and forth? Okay.
9.
So let me first ask you, did you rank yours in order, or did you just throw them in a list?
Well, I made a list first, and then I started ranking them.
Okay. Because mine are listed, but they're not ranked.
Okay.
So...
Okay, well,
mine are in no...
Okay, Doug's is not in no particular order. Mine is ranked.
I mean...
I'm going backwards to the first.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yep. All right. We'll do it anyway. We'll do it live. All right. So my number 10, like I said, in no certain order, was Thor Ragnarok.
Excellent pick. My number 10 was War for the Planet of the Apes.
Okay.
Love that ending of that nice bookended trilogy. It's not going to do anything else about it. It's great.
I agree. It was a very, very nice...
It's touching, too.
Closing chapter. My number 9 movie was Get Out.
It's an excellent movie. I need to watch it again. I only actually watched it once, but from what I remember, I really loved Jordan Peele's direction.
It is in the comedy category for the Oscars.
I know.
I don't...
Or the... Well, not the Oscars,
Emmys?
but... Emmy.
Yeah.
No, yeah, the Emmys. Yeah.
Emmys. So... Don't know who fucked that up, but...
I mean, it is kind of a black comedy. I mean, like, it is, really.
Yeah.
My number 9 is Good Time. I don't know if you saw that one with Robert Pattinson. That was actually a really good independent film with the Safdie brothers, I want to say. Independent filmmakers. One of the brothers was the director. The other one was the co-star with Robert Pattinson. It's just pretty much a really trippy movie... with 80s kind of synth.
Stranger Things-esque.
That plus like Depeche Mode kind of like soundtrack.
Depeche Mode.
Oh no, most people would like it. But it's about a brother's relationship and but it's really good. I would highly recommend it. But it is dark. It's a very dark movie.
My number 8 was Icarus. It's a Netflix documentary. It's about blood doping.
Wow.
This movie is so crazy to me because it starts off one thing and it rabbit holes down a whole other thing. So what it starts out is it's a amateur bicyclist.
Okay, but don't give it away. Just say the bicyclist part.
Yeah, amateur bicyclist. No, it's not about any like person or whatever that you've heard of, but he competes in amateur bicycling events, and he's aware of doping and steroid use and all these kind of things, and he's just wants to know. He's like, okay, I'm going to use myself as a lab rat, and I'm going to blood dope myself, so to speak, and steroid and all these things. And I'm going to see if I'm actually a better athlete. And he ends up kind of uncovering accidentally because he just gets connected with this
one probably, and then
with a scientist that's going to basically give him a regimen so he can do this. And he gets connected with a scientist in Russia. And it basically unravels the entire Russian Olympic blood doping cheating scandal.
Oh, that's happening right now.
That's happening right now. That has been happening for 30 years. It basically blows the lid off of it, and it's 90% of what.
I mean, come on, Rocky IV totally blew the lid off of this, and why aren't they paying attention to that?
Yeah, but like I said, it's amazing how it starts off kind of innocent and sweet in this little self-inflicted lab rat scenario, and it turns into this international scandal.
Oh, jeez. That sounds interesting. So it's on Netflix?
Yep. It's called Icarus.
I'll have to watch that. My number 8 is actually his number 10, and that's Thor Ragnarok. I love this movie. Taika Waititi, eat your heart out. You did a great job. Good job. Keep going. Buddy, I love you.
My number 7 was Beauty and the Beast.
Oh, that was good.
I'm a massive Disney nerd. Obviously grew up with those VHS clamshells in every home that I visited. But I was amazed at how well they did this live action.
They're doing a fantastic track record.
Yeah, all these live action movies they've nailed so far, which is amazing to me because these are things that predominantly people didn't think could ever be done.
Sure. Yeah, I thought Emma Watson did a fantastic job. And
even Ewan McGregor was Lemieux, the candlestick or whatever.
Yeah, he was hilarious.
And even at the end of the movie, I was like, I didn't know that was Ewan McGregor.
He's the only one actually French, though.
Yeah.
Everyone else was like most of them were British. Like they were talking British. That was one of my flaws from the movie. I'm like, none of these people are actively trying to be French, and this is totally a French
Just Lumiere.
Movie. Just Lumiere, who's overly French.
Yeah.
Which is funny. My number 7 is Baby Driver. I loved Baby Driver. It's fantastic Edgar Wright film. I love everything this guy's done. He's pretty smart and definitely witty. Good soundtrack to it. Fun sequences. Just a fun movie.
Yep. My number 6 was It.
Good movie.
So that says a lot just because, number one, I am a staunch activist against horror movies.
Yeah.
I fucking hate them.
Both of us are.
Yeah, but for whatever reason, this kind of like checks a bunch of boxes for me, whether it's, nostalgia, it feels that, that Goonie voice. I'm a Stephen King fan.
Yeah, all the Stephen King movies.
Yeah, but I just thought it was fantastic. I loved every bit about it.
Stand By Me meets a clown.
Yeah, basically.
My number 6 was Logan, which is actually my favorite. I'm not spoiling this away because Wonder Woman's not on my top 10.
Oh,
but
honorable mention.
Honorable mention. Wonder Woman, fantastic movie. Love it. I'm glad Patty Jenkins did a really good service to DC. But Logan is definitely, I think, it's going to be remembered outside the superhero genre. Even if you don't like superheroes, you can watch this movie. Yep. It's a glorified Western. Yeah. Just a much more gritty, and it's just I loved it. I loved that movie so much.
I agree. My number 5 was Blade Runner 2049. We kind of mentioned it earlier. I fucking love this movie.
It's my 5 too.
Yeah. Oh, snazzy. All right, so let's talk about Blade Runner 2049 since we both liked it.
Blade Runner 2049 was great. Visuals were just stunning. Soundtrack not Vangelis, but pretty damn good.
Yeah, I described this movie to several people as it's the best movie of 2017 that no one saw.
Exactly, because of the box office.
For whatever reason, I don't understand it personally. I think, number one, I think it's almost too smart for some people.
Sure.
I know it had a long run time, which kind of scared some people off.
It's almost 3 hours.
And it's a sequel to a 30-year-old movie that was already a cult classic, so it's not necessarily...
But it's a think piece. Both of them are.
So it's kind of just too niche for its own good, and I think that was kind of its unfortunate downfall, because critically it was accepted by a lot.
Yeah, a lot of us really loved it. Actually, there's a really cool Steelbook coming out with it, actually a replica gun, but you should definitely check that out. We'll check that out later. Number 4. What's your number 4?
My number 4 was 3 Billboards Outside of Ebbing, Missouri.
Love that movie.
Yeah, I was...
It's coming up in mine.
Very, very happy with that. I even enjoyed the ending. It has a soft close ending, which, depending on who you are, could either anger you or upset you. Yeah. But I thought it was very fitting. The character development, of a few of the characters, they start out, being absolute assholes that you hate. Towards the end, you completely understand them, and you understand why they are the way they are. And they redeem themselves a little bit, and you see, okay, there's a little bit of humanity in all of us.
That's what Martin McDonagh does so well, is he knows how to develop characters in really shitty situations. He does a lot of that buddy cop kind of stuff with some black comedy, but he mixes it with a really heartfelt way of understanding humanity and how it portrays it. And that's what he does in Bruges, and that's what he does in 7 Psychopaths, and obviously in 3 Billboards. My number 4 is Mother, which is a very controversial movie for some. I really love this movie. I saw it twice. The first time I saw it, I was like, what the hell is going on in this movie? It was really claustrophobic. You hear everything in the movie. It's a big allegory, and I'm not going to talk about it much more because I definitely say experience it. So,
okay. My number 3 was John Wick 2.
Great movie.
I fucking love the John Wick series. It surprised a lot of people when Keanu Reeves kind of came back to an action role, and John Wick it's so amazing that it works because it has such a simplistic plot. Yeah, it's just a revenge film.
Sure.
The guy tried to get out of, I don't want to call it the mob, but like the hitman, the syndicate,
whatever,
so to speak.
Yeah.
So he tried to leave. He thought he was out. They wouldn't let him out. There was dire consequences for him, and he just goes on a revenge tear from there on out.
Sets it up for the final chapter, too.
Yep. Generally, sequels of this nature fail just because they kind of blow their load in the first movie. And, but this was a direct continuation. I mean, it literally picks off kind of
right after
where number one ended. The action sequences were just as great, if not, superior in some instances. So I really loved it. I can't wait to see the third one. I think it's definitely a great revitalization for Keanu Reeves.
Yeah, for sure.
Career.
This is definitely his best thing he's done since The Matrix, in my opinion. So
absolutely.
My number 3 is Lady Bird, and I've talked a little bit about it. I love this coming of age movie, mother-daughter movie, and it's really good. It's really heartfelt, and I would definitely highly recommend it. It's going to get some Oscars. I know that for sure.
Yeah.
You marked my words now. It's going to get Oscars.
Number 2 for me was Wonder Woman. This is the best DC movie they've done, which unfortunately doesn't say a lot, but it shouldn't be undersold just how far superior this movie is
to everything else.
They've done. They were true to the character. It didn't have the unnecessary takeaways that the other DC movies have. It wasn't
choppy.
It wasn't choppy. It was a very cohesive story. It was a very touching story. A
lot more colorful too.
It was colorful. It wasn't like overly sexified and objectified.
Yep.
I mean, it was a very great women's empowerment film.
It's probably going to win an Oscar too.
I hope so. I mean, that would be fucking amazing.
I mean, that's an early movie, but I honestly see some movies. I think Get Out and Wonder Woman, out of all the movies that came out earlier this year, are probably shoo-ins for something.
Yeah, the best contentions anyway.
Yes. But speaking of my number 2, mine was 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. And we've already talked about that. Really love that movie. Martin McDonagh, highly recommend.
Yep. My number 1 movie was Logan. Like I said, fantastic fucking film.
So good.
I really, honestly hope it does get a Best Supporting Actress or Actor nom for
Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, Patrick Stewart.
Fantastic.
I think it would be a fitting closing chapter for his career as Professor X.
It's the best thing he's done.
Yeah, of emotion for such a character that for many just write off essentially it's just a comic book character.
Yeah, it's a comic book guy who's just a guy in a wheelchair.
Yeah, I mean it's only really been recognized one time prior, and that was Heath Ledger with his performance as the Joker. I think Patrick Stewart's performance is definitely on par with that. It's a very raw and emotional, and it's sometimes hard to watch.
It's a very hard to watch movie.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, absolutely, Logan.
And my number 1 is coming out of real left field. I've talked about it before. A Ghost Story, Casey Affleck. Mm-hmm. This one just hit me
right in the feels.
Right in the feels when I watched it. It's really hard to watch, and it's not for everybody. I can definitely tell you that. A lot of people probably would go into this and probably get bored about 30 minutes in, but I love it. I love the concept of it all, and I highly recommend it if you're emotionally available, I suppose. So, thank you for all those picks.
Yeah, so that was our top 10 list. Hopefully 2018 will give us, some more amazing films to watch.
I'm sure they will. Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
That's us knocking on this not wooden table. So, last segment, I guess?
Yeah. You want to go ahead and get to questions from the readers?
I got some questions. I had a couple from last time that we're going to just briefly answer. So, what's your favorite Steve Buscemi role?
Crazy Eyes from Big Daddy.
Mine's Fargo.
Hands down.
I like him. He's like the only one who's talking, and then this obviously it doesn't end up well. And Crazy Eyes is great, too.
Yeah.
The very end scene of that movie.
These things are fast.
Next, what are the greatest literary adaptations? I think Lord of the Rings is the best.
Yeah, I mean that you can't argue
it's
that
superior to the books in my opinion.
I really do like the Chronicles of Narnia the way they've done it, but they haven't finished it, nor do I think they ever will.
No, because the third one tanked so bad.
Yeah. Plus, it I don't know if you've ever read the books, but it has a super fucking downer ending.
Sure, yeah. I mean, it's
so I don't think a lot of people.
The whole thing's parallel to Jesus, so I mean, it's what the whole thing's about. So
yeah.
Next, which comic universe do you believe does a better job of adapting their films as comics? Obviously, Marvel.
It's
pretty. Yeah. Nope. You keep going. Doug's already like, what?
Fiery rage is boiling in my blood.
But I think both of us are bigger DC comic fans.
Yeah, that's the thing that annoys the shit out of me. Like, normally I've been in the past, I would say previous 15 years, I was a Marvel fanboy through and through. In the last 5, I've been more of a DC person. I buy a lot of comics, and predominantly what I'm reading is probably a 70-30 split between DC and Marvel, with the 70 being DC.
Yeah, that's mostly me too. I'm more enthralled by the DC.
They're better storytelling right now in the comics and everything. I just, for whatever reason, they can't get their shit together in the films.
It's because Warner Brothers.
Yeah, exactly, and that's where I think the problem lies.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Becca. We know.
Yeah.
Caitlin asks if I just need to know if Bella chooses Edward or Jacob. I say Edward.
She already chose one.
I know.
She had a baby.
Did
this person not watch the last movie?
I don't actually know, because I never saw any of these movies. But
she chose Edward. She had his baby.
It's got a lot of reactions to it, so it's really great. Ben asks, I think we may have asked this, but I can't remember. Oh, no, we talked about it afterwards. Which is the strongest character development-wise in the MCU? And I said Loki.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, Loki's had the most...
Because I think this is one of my speculative guesses. I believe Loki is going to bite the bullet in Infinity War, and he's going to be a consequential death.
I agree.
It's just kind of the way his story arc is projecting. He's been evil villain. Now he's brought himself back into the graces of his brother, and he's redeemed himself in the eyes of those around him. So now can he take that one last step and basically redeem himself,
make himself
the planet Earth, so to speak.
Yeah, and I think that's gonna. I mean, you can just see it flourishing in Ragnarok. I mean, flourishes of it.
Yeah.
So it'll. That's a good prediction. I think you're right on the money there as well. Friend Chelsea says, "What is one of the biggest changes within the superhero movies from the early movies in the '60s to the newer movies?" I'd say that downfall in the comics in the '80s and '90s. You had that shift from comedy, or kind of not so serious, from the '60s. Obviously, you had the Batman, movies, obviously, and then even the Batman film. It got more dark over time in the '80s. Well,
I think the thing that changed is they changed their core demographic. Through and through, you can't say that the Marvel Cinematic Universe isn't for kids, but it truly is geared towards adults and kids.
Yeah.
Whereas earlier on, these movies were directly for kids just to sell fucking toys. I mean, they weren't adults with anything.
Yeah, it's hard to distinguish. I mean, I think you'd have to go case by case basis. Yeah. Honestly, I mean, Batman's probably the most obvious thing to see the change and shift. I mean, they made fun of it in the Batman movie, which was Lego Batman movie, which was fantastic. It came out this year too. Mm-hmm. I loved it. I thought it was
good.
It's definitely the one Batman that actually stays true to everything, because they literally make fun of everything. It's great. And then, so I have a couple questions here to wrap it all up. We already asked the Black Widow is a Disney princess, so yes, she is. Best movie franchise for every genre. That'll be a hard one.
Yeah, how many genres are we talking?
Let's just do. I'll pick two. Okay. I'll do comedy and drama.
All right, I will do action and. I mean, like I said, you're starting getting. You got to split hairs with genres at this point.
You can do fantasy. It's pretty easy.
Fantasy/sci-fi.
You can do that.
Okay.
For comedy, I would say that the best franchise is probably. I don't know about franchise. I'm going to cheat and say Mel Brooks, but I know National Lampoon has got it pretty well down.
I agree. Obviously, they haven't made any good movies in a while.
No.
Their core stasis
their
that
Chevy
they started
Chase
with
stuff is good. What about one of yours?
So action. Damn, that's hard. Because when I'm trying to establish, differentiate franchise between unnecessary sequels.
I mean, I can think of off the top of my head.
I like Die Hard a lot.
Yeah, but there's some bad ones.
Yeah,
and there's some bad Bourne stuff too.
Yep. The Matrix, it was a cultural.
The first one,
but yeah,
the second one's okay.
Yeah, like I said, some of these things kind of cross-pollinate boundaries.
Yeah. For what was my second drama?
Yeah.
For drama, I would say, well, that's hard to do. Let's see, because most movies are just standalone with dramas.
Yeah, I was supposed to say. Dramas generally don't have, sequels.
Sure. Let's think about some, though. Is there any best?
I don't know. I keep wanting to turn around to
the
wall of movies.
The wall of movies. Shoot.
So if you want to talk franchises and drama, I would normally direct you towards television because that is the storytelling medium for a long drawn out story.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
And if that were the case, I would say Mad Men, Breaking Bad.
Yeah, let's do that route. I would say, those are two of the best shows I've ever seen. Mad Men's for sure. That's one of your favorites. I just saw that recently and I loved it. It's hard to explain. I really like. Well, that's crime, so never mind.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking of all the crime ones now.
I was going to say subgenres is when you start showing up.
Well, that'll be mine. Then
yeah.
What's yours?
Sci-fi, easy. Star Wars, fuck.
And then fantasy, obviously, Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone's arguing against sci-fi being Star Wars, please let me know. I would love to hazard a guess what your number one is, just because I'm curious what top Star Wars.
Yeah, it would. Okay, there's actually a little fight here, but I'll get to that in a second. Someone's asking what about Bloodsport? Totally a Christmas flick.
No, fuck no.
Well, okay, so here's what's going on. When I ask these questions to my Facebook friends, usually I give them lively examples or just really stupid examples. So today I asked, will the fight for Die Hard Christmas legitimacy ever end? Will Predator ever make an appearance in Star Wars universe? When we pass on, is there movie credits that roll? Really ridiculous things, and I'm just trying to get people to have thoughts. So people are arguing about the Die Hard thing in my comment section. Of course, it's a Christmas movie.
Yeah, it's a Christmas movie.
We've already established this.
It's official. Stamp.
And then one of my friends says, no one dies in a Christmas movie. False. Santa Claus. First thing that happens. So that's just, it's no.
Apparently they never saw, Santa's Sleigh with Bill Goldberg
oh boy.
As Santa Claus, a murderous Santa Claus.
That's a B movie. I remember
lots
seeing
of people
at Blockbuster.
Apparently, they've never saw Gremlins. Also,
right?
A Christmas movie. Lots of fucking people die.
Yeah, no, there's death involved. I mean, just because Jesus died on this day, well, supposedly.
And I'm sure if you Google it, I know I've read a couple of examples, but there's a lot of tragic news stories about fathers, uncles, brothers, cousins, somebody going down the chimney to try to surprise the kids and getting stuck and dying or breaking their neck or or worse. So there's a lot of bad things associated with Christmas. It's not always fucking hunky dory, rainbows and sunshine, ladies and gentlemen.